Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm Jake.
I'm Dan from downtown.
I'm Gold
See what I
Eagle
did
Jake
there?
from Gold Eagle.
Basketball thing.
Yeah,
Did we already lose other Jake?
I think we did.
Oh, that's great. I can
Did
hear
we lose you?
noise. There you
Am
are.
I back now?
You're
Yeah,
back now.
Great start. All right.
All right, run it back. Without the joke this time, preferably.
Oh, that was a good one.
A podcast about bourbon and the ones who drink it. This is Bourbon Matters. Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm Jake.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Gold Eagle Jake.
Hey, we got a delay, but he's there.
And today we are starting the first round of March Dramness 2024. We're going to, because of schedule constraints, go through all 16 today. So
It's not even noon.
It's not noon yet.
To be fair, I'm not drunk to start this podcast off, but I'll be drunk by the end. So
Yeah.
And also, to be fair, today is St. Patrick's celebration day, so half
Yeah,
of
that's
Chicago
true.
is already drunk.
it's true.
Yeah, that's a good qualifier.
So if you missed last week, we kind of went through the rules. We have 16 different whiskeys that are in a March Dramness style bracket. So it's single elimination tournament, completely blind. We all submitted 4 whiskeys, and Roberto called in 4 whiskeys as well. So we technically know 4 of the whiskeys that are in there, but we have no idea what letter they're on. So we have bottles labeled A through O. And we just pour them, and we're going to vote and see which ones move on. And you can play along with us, or you can play along at Gold Eagle with their barrel pick Dramness that they stole from us. But regardless,
Borrowed.
it's fun to do blind tastings.
So yeah, I guess
I'm very excited. Just want to throw that in there because I don't get to do as many blinds as y'all because I'm putting on a lot of the blinds here at the store.
Yeah.
So this is a real treat for me.
So what we're going to do is we won't know any of the whiskeys until we pick a winner. We will go through, so we'll start off today. We'll go A versus B, and we'll pick a winner. Then we'll go C versus D, pick a winner, so on and so forth. But we won't find out any of the results until we're done. I'm going to keep track of some of our notes on each of the whiskeys we talk about each time, see how they change from tasting to tasting, and we'll see who's selected the most winners, too. So,
yeah.
Is there anything else we needed to cover, or should we start drinking and let's not all drink at once so we're all not sitting there trying to figure out and just having dead airspace? So if you guys want to, if you guys want to start with nosing and tasting a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about the rules real quick.
Okay.
So you and Jake can go ahead and try.
Perfect.
So really, there's only 2 rules. We had to use an American whiskey, and it could not be a store pick. So pretty straightforward on the rules this time. We didn't want to limit ourselves too much. So yeah, I'm excited to see. Will probably be a pretty wide range of things that were entered in this, so should be a pretty good selection overall.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about how we picked our things last week between me and Jake, which there's really no rhyme or reason for why we picked anything we did, unlike last time where Jake was trying to pick a winner from the start. But right off the bat, A's got a pretty balanced nose to it.
Yeah.
Jake, I'm getting some of the oak. It's not. I don't think it's from the nose. It doesn't smell overly high proof.
No, both A and B smell pretty middle of the road, like maybe between 100 and 110 at most. A has a much stronger nose to me. The nose on B is pretty light.
Jake, Gold Eagle, what are you getting over there from your start? You've already sipped into a little bit.
I took a little taste of each one. just warm up the palate a little bit today. And I'm getting, I think B to me is a little more full bodied. It's got a little more spice. It's got some fruitiness going on. A kind of reminds me more of a kind of traditional Kentucky bourbon. It's very well balanced, very creamy. One of those pours that you just can't go wrong with. I think so far for me, B's standing out a little bit more. But I got to go back and taste these again.
Yeah, on B, I got fruitiness right on the nose. It's not like a Buffalo Trace grape I'm getting, but it's a little more like spicy orange peel.
Yeah. Citrus is definitely, I think, the big note on B. A is, I don't know. I got fruitiness on A to start.
I was with Gold Eagle. The first sip of A, I immediately thought Kentucky bourbon.
I think
like
both
just like
of them
a
are
classic.
Yeah.
I don't think either of these are Sazerac products, though.
No.
Maybe one of them. A maybe a Beam product, but maybe not.
Proof wise, I think they're both right around 100. Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
We lost somebody.
Yeah, I think they are both around 100. B, I think A has a nicer finish than B, in my opinion. But I think I like the.
What do you mean by
palate.
nicer?
Longer, and a little bit. It holds like the flavor a little bit better than B does. But I think I like the palate on B better. This is actually a pretty tough matchup.
Yeah. And it was interesting because the one we did last time, like a lot of times, it was a clean sweep for the three of us, for you, me, and Roberto when we voted.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to have many sweeps this time around. I think we'll be split on a lot of these.
On B, on the finish, I'm getting a little bit of that like solvency note.
Yeah, there's it drops off a little, and then there's like a little bit of that. Like, I don't know. Sometimes that's not like super off-putting. Like, it doesn't bother me that much on this. But yeah, it's definitely there.
I don't know. I'm getting some more of the fruitiness on the nose of A when I go back to it.
Yeah, the first time I smelled A, I got a lot of fruit.
See, I got that the first time I smelled B.
But B has that. For me, it's definitely orange on B. I think A might be lemon peel. But B, the citrus note is on the palate. For A, it's in the nose.
I'm getting a lot of vanilla. Like, I'm getting some of that fruit on A now, but I'm also getting a lot more vanilla.
Yeah.
Jake, we were talking. We both think they're around 100 proof. What were your thoughts on proof on these?
I'd say A is 100 proof. I think B is a little bit higher. I would probably say like a 105, maybe up to a 108. And I don't know if you guys took votes yet or not.
No, we haven't. It's just tough right off the start.
I
Both
think
really
I
good. You really
agree
can't
with
go
Jake,
wrong.
though. I think B is slightly higher proof.
Yeah, I'm not upset with either of these bourbons.
Yeah, we ready to vote?
You guys have your ideas? I think I have mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm ready.
Jake, our Gold Eagle Jake, why don't you go ahead and give us your vote?
My vote is B. like I said, they're both really good. A is a very well balanced, well rounded. Kind of reminded me of Kentucky bourbon with the peanut and lighter caramel notes. And B for me just has a little bit more complexity. You get a little spice that kicks in that is lacking on A. And I usually tend to go for a little bit higher rye bourbons. So I think I'm definitely going to go with B here.
I'll go next. I think it's really close. I like the nose. I thought they were very similar in terms of quality and how I liked them. The palate was a little more spice on B's palate and gave it a little more complexity, like you were talking about, Jake. But on the finish of B, I was getting a little solvency flavor, and I really liked the finish of A better. I'm going to go with A because of that. Jake, are you already doing a palate cleanser eating food right now?
Yeah, I've got my wheat thins or whatever. Yeah, wheat thins. Yeah, so I think I really agree with you, Dan, in a shocking twist.
I don't like that at all.
Which
Now I feel
means
bad.
that-
Can I change my vote now?
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
Which means you have just as shitty taste as I do, so I'm also going to vote.
God dang it.
Damn it.
Yeah, I
Starting
feel
off on a
bad about
bad
this now.
foot.
I did not want to be in the same boat. Like my thought coming in is that me and Gold Eagle Jake would be a lot more closer. So A versus B. A is going to take it because me and Jake are preferred it a little more. I think the finish stood out for us a little bit better.
Yeah.
Gold Eagle Jake liked the complexity a little bit better and the spice of it a little bit better on B. I think that's kind of the sum up of that round.
Yep.
So A will be moving on, knocking out B. Again, we have no idea what either of these are. We won't know for a while. If you're keeping a scorecard at home, A moves on as a vote of 2-1. So now we are going to go to the second part of the bracket, which is going to be C versus D. And obviously, the winner of this next episode will take on A. So, first thing I noticed, C has a completely different nose than the A and B. I'm getting some thoughts on D from the first part of the nose. I don't want to influence any opinions yet, so I'm going to keep that note to myself on the nose. Jake, Gold Eagle Jake, what are you getting for nose and some things on
Just poured them out.
Oh, geez. All right.
See.
Who? Yeah, I know what you're saying now, Dan.
On D?
There's definitely something distinctive about D.
I haven't tasted it yet, but I have a pretty good idea going into it what I think it might be, but that's going to be the downfall, I believe, is because now my head's stuck on that one thing.
Well, didn't we say these have to be findable?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Could be like super allocated stuff. As Jake R wears a shirt with all super allocated things on it.
Oh, damn. D is extremely unique.
The nose definitely set something off on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of like lemony, like kind of. There's something that I really can't pick up right now on the mid palate that continues through the finish.
All right, so I tried C first, and there's really nothing to it.
Yeah.
The palate and the finish, I'm getting a little bit of a slight corn note, I believe. Come on. I'll go on to D, but anyone else try C yet or no?
Yeah, C is
I tried C and
a bit one-dimensional.
yeah, I was gonna say I
Not
think
bad.
there's nothing wrong with it. It's really well balanced, but it is a little bit one dimensional.
Yeah.
And there's with D kind of starts off as like a traditional Kentucky, and then like some kind of that lemon I was talking about. I think I'm just getting like a little bit of bitterness and a little bit of mintiness that even comes through on the mid palate.
Yeah.
Super unique.
Yeah,
My
D's got
initial-
like D's got some like herbal kind of notes going
Yeah.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Almost
My
like some
initial
like
thought
light
on-
gin kind of notes on the nose.
Yeah, it's very floral.
Yeah.
My first thought on D from the nose is a rye. Is anyone else thinking that D is a rye versus C is a bourbon?
Yeah.
C is.
It's not
I
MGP
don't-
rye. It's something else, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it has enough spice to be a rye, but it does have that little bit of mintiness and floral notes that you would find in a rye.
It reminds me a little bit of like seagrass.
Yes, without the finishes, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, like a blend of.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a lot of like sweet notes, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, D is kind of a curveball. I like it.
These are very opposite tasting.
Yeah.
Right? C
This
is
is
just very kind of simple, plain Jane style of bourbon. And D is either very complex bourbon with a high rye content in it, a low rye Kentucky rye style of rye with some minty floral notes to it, or something that has a crazy finish to it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a finish.
I
Not picking up
don't
any-
think so.
I could
They
see it being
are,
Knob Creek Rye. That would have been a good entry.
What?
Knob Creek Rye. That would have been a good entry.
Right. Ready to vote?
Sure. Jake R., you want to go first?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with D. Because it is unique. I'd like to see it up against something else. I feel like if I voted C through, I feel like C just wouldn't stand up to the potential lineup. Nothing bad against C. I think it's just a little too one-dimensional for me.
Jake, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think for me it was pretty easy just because D was so unique. I'm really interested and curious to find out what D is. C was really good, but yeah, it was just one-dimensional and it was just a good, well-rounded bourbon. Nothing really stood out too much, so definitely D for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote the same way on this. I have obviously D might be a rye, which some people are gonna be like, well, why'd you vote a rye over bourbon? Well, also remember that it is a rye that I said from the start that I noticed had a rye nose to it. I have nothing wrong with a simple, easy drinking bourbon. I just don't think C was a good enough simple bourbon to overpower some of the cool, interesting stuff that we're getting out of D.
Yeah, I think
I think it would have been closer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it would have been closer if it was D versus either A or B, because I think A or B were better whiskeys than what C was. We'll find out next episode when we have D versus A face off against each other. The complexity of the notes, the little bit of journey that you get with D stood out a little bit to me more than C.
Yeah, I mean that's the tough part about blinds is that a smooth, easy drinking bourbon doesn't always win out if it's put up against something that's heavy and complex and interesting. Yeah,
especially in a bracket like this where you can just put anything into it. You're going to get much different varieties of flavors than if you're trying to line up a good blind tasting. So a lot of personal preference is going to also kick in here.
Yeah. This one I'm actually kind of surprised that you went for what we believe may be a rye, Dan, but I do believe that your logic is at least consistent. So,
and I think if we go back and look at the first one we did, there was a time where I took a simple bourbon over one of the more complex bourbons because I thought the simple bourbon did simple bourbon better than the complex one did complex bourbon.
Fair.
I just don't think there was anything special about C that stood out enough to me that made me think that, wow, this is something that's really, really good bourbon.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm thinking it's a Kentucky. I'm thinking D is a Kentucky rye. I'm thinking it's a 50 to 60% rye.
Yeah,
Possibly.
I think so.
Knob Creek
all
Rye.
right.
So
EF.
that was the first part of the bracket. So we'll be on to E versus F and G versus H next. As a recap, we went with A over B, just because we thought that was a 2-1 vote. We thought A was a Kentucky bourbon, very creamy, around 100 proof, a lot of your normal vanilla notes. Jake R and I like to finish that one a little bit better. And C versus D, it was a clean sweep for D, possibly a rye, very complex, very unique. Is the reason we went with that one. So
Yep.
we will go on to E versus F. I got to start pouring these things. I am proud. I drank less than a quarter ounce, I think, of each of those. I think I might be okay for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get E and F poured in here. Jake, I see you're spelling your arm up your nose palate there a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so far, color-wise, there's a pretty stark contrast between E and F.
Definitely.
E is several shades darker than F. On the nose, I think E is definitely a bit stronger. Definitely a lot of oak on the nose. Some vanilla. Little bit of citrus maybe, though it's kind of faint.
Yeah.
F is quite a bit lighter.
F
I
got a
don't
little bit
know,
of mint on it.
I've got a good guess for E, I think.
It's something old, so if you put something old in, or something that's been in a barrel for a long time, or a Texas whiskey.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah, there's something on F that's a little more floral or minty, like you said, Dan. I can't pinpoint it, but
Yeah, I agree. I get a lot of the oak flavor on the nose of E. Gold Eagle, you've been a little quiet over there. I can't see you. Your camera's not showing up, so I'm just guessing that
I
you're
know.
just pounding down whiskey
I keep
right
kicking
now.
out, so I figured turn off the camera is going to help. But yeah, once again, these are two very, very different whiskeys. My initial thought for E was like a Heaven Hill bottle and bond, something around 100 proof, carries a lot of oak, a ton of oak. The color itself is extremely dark. And F, I don't know. Again, we keep getting these floral and kind of funkier whiskeys on the right. I think this is the third round in a row. And there's something with F that I haven't been able to pinpoint yet.
yeah, F is. Go ahead, Dan.
I think E. I want to say E is kind of similar to what C was, where it's more of a simple bourbon. But I think it does simple bourbon way better than what C does, or what C did. Mm-hmm. Some of that could be age, some of it could be a little bit higher proof.
And F is good, but I think for me it's lacking a little bit of something here. I take a sip and I enjoy it, but I'm looking for a bit more out of F.
There's not much finish on F. Not much on the palate either.
No, yeah, it kind of fades away.
Yeah, E's got a really nice finish. Definitely, like we talked about, lots of oak, lots of the classic vanilla and other caramely kind of bourbon flavors. Yeah, and F is just it's hard to describe the flavors in F.
It reminds me of a better
I have an idea that
Barton. Just because it kind of has faint oak and faint hints of Kentucky bourbon, but it's very light.
Yeah, I feel like it might be maybe a younger bourbon. I don't know if it's It doesn't taste like super corn forward though. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the finish isn't really there enough.
Yeah, I think my mind's made up. This was a pretty easy round again.
Yeah, I think
E for the win.
Yep.
Yeah, clean sweep. I think E's is good, strong bourbon.
Yeah.
E, I think, would do well against A and B.
Yeah.
I think those three are very similar.
E would. Yeah, that's gonna
Yeah.
be a good some good matchups.
Well, that won't match. I mean, they won't match up until A's got to beat D. A's got to
Well,
beat
yeah,
that.
I just meant like the
complex one.
next
Yeah,
round
he's
is
gotta
already
make-
looking very exciting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. For sure.
As we're pouring the next G versus H, Jake, so you don't get to do a lot of blinds because you're normally having to put everything together, let alone a bracket blind. Just starting off on this, what are your initial thoughts on a blind bracket?
I mean, it's we've only done 3 head-to-heads, but I just think the whole concept of doing a bracket blind is extremely fun. And it's gonna be really fun when we do the next round, trying to remember what these tasted like today and how they compare up against the next whiskeys in the next round. But we always say it. There's really no better way to taste than a blind tasting. And I mean, I do partake in some blinds. Like I get people all the time that'll come and pour me something.
Right.
But I don't get to do any official blind tastings, or not as much as I would like to, only because I'm usually the one putting on the blind.
I'll tell you the most fun. So what my plan was is for people that are listening at home, I have a spreadsheet I put together that we're tracking everything, and I'm putting in some of our notes. What I was going to do is I'm going to hide all of our round 1 stuff when we do round 2, so I can't go back and look at any of our notes. So it's completely just guesswork. So if we remember them, we can remember them, but I'm not going to be pulling up notes and going through stuff until the very end. So
Yeah, I think the one because we did something similar the first time around where we took notes, and I believe we did reference them at the start of each round. Though, like we talked about in the last episode with just me and Dan, we were off quite a bit on some of them. So I don't know if it made much of a difference.
Yeah, and Jake, I know you haven't listened to the episode. You couldn't make it, but when we were going through some of the tasting notes from last year, we could definitely see Roberto's influence because one of them said beef tacos flavoring. I don't think I've ever used that to describe a bourbon.
No. All right,
And I'm just going to go on record and say that B is the sample that got away.
B is a sample that got away.
B could have made a run for it in this tasting. I think it's the sample that got away.
Why? Just because it was such a tough matchup?
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, they were so different, but like I really, really enjoyed B, and I think it had some complexities that could have, carried on and taken down a lot of the other whiskeys that we've tried so far. So I'm just want to go on record. I'm very excited to see what B is because I really enjoyed that one.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to keep remember that when we reveal at the end. The noses are quite a bit different on G and H. G, I think, is a rye.
My first thought on H was dulce de leche. Jake, how do you feel about that?
I'm not getting any of that, but I'm getting some creme brulee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely a very creamy nose.
Yeah, it's H is a little bit more
Which one
on
did
the
you say was a
dessert
rye?
end. I think G is the rye.
G? I mean, there is a little bit of like floral and mintiness to it, but I'm not getting much spice.
Yeah, I'm not getting the spice.
I think it's definitely a bourbon.
It'd be a really interesting bourbon if it's...
I should try and sip one of these instead of just going off nose and trying to pick a winner off nose. But yeah,
I'm standing firm with G being a rye.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm standing firm with it being a bourbon.
I think it's a Kentucky rye. I think it's like 51%.
Jake, our Gold Eagle, Jake, you're with me on this. There's no way that's a rye, right?
There's no way.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's like classic. It's once again, it's kind of like a classic Kentucky. Like it's got a little bit of peanuts. It's got a little bit of corn, but I'm not getting any spice out of it. It's got a little floral funkiness. It's got a little floral funkiness. So like maybe that's why you think it's a rye.
I get the
I'm
floral
just not getting any spice.
That's what's hitting me the hardest is that those floral notes, even on the palate.
Yeah, I get the floral on the nose, but that's about all I get that gives it any thought of a rye. I think it's very low proof.
Mm-hmm.
And considering I think it's low proof and I'm not getting a ton of spice, makes me really think that it's not a rye.
H though, I'm really liking H.
And the nose on H is phenomenal.
I'm getting some spice. I'm getting some cherries. I'm getting a little bit of oak. It's a little sweet. I really like H, and if you'll take my final vote, I'll vote for H.
All right.
That was another easy round for me.
Jake, do you know where you're going?
He's going to pick G just so he can do something different and stick with his guts on that it's a rye.
I do enjoy H. Like, G is just more interesting, I think. Whether or not it's a rye.
Samples got switched up. G is like pretty bland to me compared to H.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's surprising.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I don't get much off of it. Is there a possibility that H is an Old Forester? Am I getting a little banana or no?
No. I'm not getting enough like caramely, oaky sweetness. I usually get a lot more oak, unless it's I don't know, unless it's just part of the whiskey row.
Yeah, I don't know. H is good. This one's actually tougher than I originally thought it was going to be.
Well, where's your head at, Dan? Are you
I
your mind made up?
I was going to let Jake give his answer.
Oh, so I'm the tiebreaker.
So there's my
is what
vote.
you're telling me.
Yeah, I'm trying to step in when I know I'm going to vote differently, so there can be someone that can break the vote. At the end.
I'm going to go with G because I think it's more interesting. I like the wild card.
Wild card. I was going to go with Always Sunny when you say that.
Remember, Dan, which one would you rather have? Which one do you like
I think
better?
in this case it would be G. It's more interesting to me. But I mean, it doesn't matter because it lost. For the record, Dan voted H.
Yeah, I voted H. Mm-hmm. I think we knew that from the start.
That's the only reason why you voted G, for the record.
So the downside with this is we finished the left half of the bracket here. So the entire left is done. I'll give a recap of this part of this quarter of the bracket in a second. But I just want to say that so far I have voted for every single one that's moved on to the final to the next round.
Congrats.
Congrats. And if you would have voted for B, then you would have been also voted everyone that moved on, and we would have had a better second round of the bracket.
I think you're wrong on that one. I don't know. It's hard to say that you're wrong on that because I voted with the same as Jake R, and that's like again,
And
Jake
he just
R
voted
is
for
one
G.
that easily admits that he's not good at blinds tasting.
Our tastes align pretty heavily when it comes to bourbon, but if there's other options besides bourbon, that's where we kind of break apart.
I just want to say I'm right. So when we look back at E versus F and G versus H, E was a clean sweep winner. We liked E. It had lots of oak, lots of vanilla, lingering finish. That was one that had a lot of darker color to it, so we think it's a little bit older or possibly a Texas whiskey. Just not nearly as much on F. Round 2, it's been our second split vote, or not round 2, but G versus H, it's our second split vote with Gold Eagle Jake and me going with H, which we said is a very creamy bourbon, which we liked better than the other bourbon that was G that Jake R thinks is a rye and is completely wrong on. So, when we look at the left half of the bracket, next episode, we will have A versus D and E versus H. I can see the buttercups too. And that finishes the left side. We are going to switch right over. I'm doing well, boys. I'm not feeling anything quite yet.
I'm doing very well. I've
been
been spitting
tasting,
like a good boy.
Yeah.
Just going to let that one go.
Come on, Dan.
Thank you for being professional.
Got to get a little life in the blind tasting episode.
I gave life last week when I was hammered when we started.
Nobody wants to just listen to tasting notes the whole time. I'm with you, followers. Don't worry, I got your back.
See, Jake gets all the comments straight from the source at the bar. Leave the comments on the episode.
Yeah, it helps us out, jerks. God. Jake, can we just put a tablet at the bar and, like, when they say comments, you can just have them type the comment in and then it goes to the thing? Thank you. That would be great. All right. So the right half of the bracket, starting off, I versus J.
Yeah.
Similar color.
Fairly similar, yeah. So far, I mean, almost all of these, besides E and F, have been pretty much similar in color.
Ooh, not similar noses, though.
I'm getting a lot of syrup on I. Anyone else get, like, maple syrup on I?
I'm getting, like, maple syrup, some banana, some clove.
Yeah. I is a little bit more...
J getting a little fruitiness, getting a little... oak.
I is like sweet baking or sweet baked goods.
What were your notes? What were your thoughts for Jay there, Jake? I missed it. Sorry.
Jay's a little more oaky, a little fruitier, a little more spice.
I'm getting just a little bit more like pepper on Jay, along with the other things that Jake just listed.
And yeah, I is like, again, on the nose reminds me of just a classic light 100 proof Kentucky bourbon. But let's dive in and have a taste.
I think I know what I is going to be just from the nose, actually.
So one of your submissions, so I'm going to vote against it.
A pretty good idea. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I get a lot of the banana and clove, but it's not like an Old Forester Jack Daniels type of banana. It's much lighter.
Yeah.
You don't get like any of that chocolatey,
decent vanilla too. Pretty light on the oak though. On I.
They're both very light on the oak. All right, this is going to be a really close matchup. I can already tell just off the first taste of the palate. These are very similar on the palate, even though on the nose they were quite different.
I'm going back to Jay on the nose. I also got a lot of orange peel. Anyone else picking any of that up?
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Like a lot now that I'm going back to it. Gotta try it though.
I'm not picking that up, but my nose is burnt out already a little bit.
No, I
You
definitely
make
get
an
orange
excuse
peel.
every single time, and you
Orange
can't just
zest.
lean into the fact that you suck at this.
I have like chronic allergies. I just got back from Mexico where it's just dust everywhere. So I'm surprised I can smell anything right now. But I is coming through pretty strong for me. Though J, I can
isn't?
smell J, but it's a little bit it's hard to explain. If I were gonna graph these two, I would be a like steeper bell curve, and J would be like a more flat bell curve.
Yeah, you get a lot of higher peak on I.
Yeah.
J is more one note.
Yeah, this
Does very
is
well though.
Thank you for understanding what I'm talking about.
you just have to put it into graph terms.
Yeah,
And then
from
Dan
now on,
will
I'm going
get
to
you.
graph everything that we try.
So this is going to be tough. I'm kind of going back and forth on these. I think J is a little more robust and full-bodied, which is what I normally look for. But I think I like the flavors a little bit better on I. I don't like how
What
light
flavors
it
are
is.
you liking better on I?
I just get a lot of like a well-rounded creaminess with banana and clove and a slight hint of maple syrup. And normally that's, I'm looking for more oak and more fruit, and just more robustness. So this is going to be tough because I like the flavors on I, but I like the mouthfeel and body on J a bit better.
Yeah, I mean,
None of the
I
finishes
do
blow me away. Nothing has a finish
same.
that stands out to me. They're both more nose and palate. I think they're pretty
Same.
low proofs. I think they're in the 80s, possibly.
I would say 90s.
I don't think it's that low.
Maybe
I'd say
100
90s,
tops.
but yeah, they're definitely
I could see I being like
definitely
a
on the lower end.
big distillery, inexpensive bottle in the bond.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone want to pull a trigger on a vote?
Yeah, this is definitely the closest matchup for me so far.
Yeah. They're both really good, too. Like, both of these, I'd be happy if someone gave me a pour of this.
Yeah, they both really the palate really follows the nose really well too, which I'm personally a fan of.
For
yeah,
I, like, I think the first nose I got on I was maple syrup. I get the sweetness on the palate of I, but I don't get like the maple syrup sweetness on the palate of I that got on.
No.
Yeah, no, it's the syrup note is on the nose only, but all the other kind of baking spice kind of things flow through, all like even through the finish on I. And J
I'm
is
also
very
more-
much more in that like typical bourbon wheelhouse of like the oak, a little bit of fruit and some citrus. I don't get any of that like black pepper note that's on the nose, but everything else I think carries through.
No, but I actually get a little bit of that maple syrup on the finish on I. It's just very faint. It kind of kicks in and lingers for a little bit.
I'm also more susceptible right now to the maple syrup since we just bottled our maple syrup cask finished bourbon that will be coming to stores on April 5th, I believe.
I was going to ask
Ah,
if you
nice plug.
had pancakes for
In
breakfast.
in 750 bottles this year for the first time.
Ooh.
I did not have some breakfast pizza for breakfast.
You had what?
Breakfast pizza for breakfast from Casey's, the gas station.
Oh, Jesus.
So delicious. All right, votes.
That's DeKalb
Guys,
for
votes.
you.
Where are we going?
Nothing better than gas station breakfast pizza.
I love it. Any voters?
All right, you guys go first because I've been going first.
I'm gonna go.
I got my mind made up.
Okay. I'm gonna go with J.
Yeah, Jake just switched because I said I first. Because I said
No,
I. He's like,
no.
I'm gonna go I.
Boom. Still on the winning streak.
Normally, oh shit, I should have done J. No, you know what? J.
No. The vote has been submitted.
Normally I would go J, just because it's more robust and full-bodied. But there is something that I really enjoy about I, and I think it's that like maple syrupy, just kind of clovey banana. Like it just works. And this is like the few time that I would pick just the more well-rounded, creamy bourbon over the more fuller-bodied option.
Yeah, I think
So
for the dissenting opinion, I think Jay, for me, it was a little bit more robust, like Jake said. That's usually what I gravitate to. I like really bold flavor in most cases. I has pretty strong flavor. It's just slightly less than Jay, so that's my decision.
If Jay would have had a little bit stronger finish, I probably would have went Jay. But they both kind of slacked off on the finish.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
Jay, yeah. I like everything about Jay except for the finish kind of dipped out, and I think I is the more well-rounded option.
I agree. That's why I voted.
All right, let's go, Jake. We got to get Dan off his little wagon here.
K now. There's been a lot of interesting we've had a few that we thought have just been normal Kentucky bourbons. There's been a lot of uniqueness in here.
I'm not as upset about any of them, and I'm very eager to learn what's what.
K looks a little bit darker than L. Not by much.
Yeah, maybe slightly.
L's got a little more of the straw coloring to it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I'm digging the nose on L.
Yeah, I just smelled L and I just noticed the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I can't pick it out quite yet.
K is kind of like a dusty strong Kentucky noses, bourbon. Though. L is like very sweet, and I get a lot of that maple syrup and oak.
I mean, compared to I and J, though, these noses are like very 10 times stronger.
Man, L's got something that I just cannot pick out yet.
Yeah, I think I would give the nose to L too. It's pretty nice and well rounded. It's definitely up there. Yeah. K's pretty heavy on like orange peel, I think. A little bit of vanilla and.
How can you get orange peel on this one, but you couldn't get orange peel on the last one? This is a question. This is a serious question I have for you.
I don't know.
The nose is a little more pronounced on this one, so I'll give them that.
Yeah, but if it's faint, I can't get it. If it's strong,
you get a lot of baking spice on the K nose as well too.
It's kind of like a dusty, musty type of orange that I'm getting on K. Where the last one was like straight orange.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, this is like K is like all those flavors are there. They're just a little bit more like muted almost.
So I know I've had L before. I can't.
There is something
pick out what it is, but I know I've had it before, and I'm really enjoying it.
There is something on the nose that's bothering me because I cannot figure it out.
On which one?
On L.
I mean, it's got like a vanilla extract. It's got a little chocolate. It's got some maple syrup. It's got some oak.
I thought L was very watery. I just took my first sip.
I think L is very That's off the nose. Like I think L is very complex off the nose.
Palate for L, I'm going to go with very watery and thin.
Yeah, agreed. K is pretty full bodied in flavor. Though I don't know that these are I don't think these are too off in proof though.
There's a slight little ethanol that I'm getting on K. Right at the front. But it kind of fades away.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree. I think L, based off the nose, is a little bit watery and thin, and that was a little disappointing.
Yeah,
But
especially for the
I still
nose
enjoy
on
the
high.
flavor.
Yeah,
The
I think
nose was so punching you in the face, and then the palate was just kind of like, I'm here.
I've had this before. I can't pick what it is, but I know I've had this recently.
I'm getting K a little bit higher proof, maybe. Maybe you're like around the 110, 115.
I think these are both around 100, maybe 90
I don't know.
for L.
To me, they're almost the same. I think L might just be maybe it was the cask was at a higher proof and it was cut to whatever K is, so it tastes more watery. Maybe K was a lower cask proof. I don't know. I'm making up science right now.
I think you're just rambling right now. Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're the same proof, or fairly close, within like plus or minus 5 proof points of each other.
I really like the baking spice on the nose of K. Both had great noses.
These are both good.
I don't say
but
much. I actually like L's nose quite a bit better.
yeah, they're both good, but they're both letting me down after how good the noses were.
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly L. K at least has some flavor and like some viscosity to like back it up. L's just a tad too watery.
We have a vote we're going to do on this one. Anyone want to go first?
I'll go K.
Damn, this one's really tough.
I'm going to tear down the wine shelves.
I'm trying not to let L, the big letdown of L from the nose to the palate, affect my decision.
That should affect your decision. That's an important.
No,
but also at the same time,
no, because it's not like it's bad.
I'll never pick a barrel off the nose just if I really like a nose. And we saw it with the Knob Creek barrel that
we'll never know.
One of the noses was phenomenal and ended up being the worst on the palate. I try not to. I'll never pick a barrel off the nose, but
we talked about this.
I think the nose
we
can
talked
carry
about
some
this,
weight here
a few weeks ago.
Overall score.
We talked about this a few weeks ago where we said who was I talking to about this? It was my buddy Jimmy, where I was saying that like if you're gonna pick between nose and palate, like are you ever gonna pick nose over palate? I don't think so, because at the end of the day you're drinking it, right? So
no, but in this situation, I don't.
We don't need to get into a philosophical
palate.
Discussion.
yeah, but I don't love either palate over the other here. So, like for me here, the nose is going to carry a lot of weight where normally it wouldn't really carry any weight. I think I definitely like the palate a little bit better about K. than I do with L. But there's something with K that I don't like on the palate, and there's nothing on L that I don't like on the palate. And it's very watery and thin compared to what I was expecting with nosing L, but I think I'm going to go with L
Yeah.
here. I think the overall score for me has a little more weight going towards L.
All right. So while Dan makes his decision, I'll give my counter opinion on K, choosing K. Or do you need a minute, Dan? Or are you good to go?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that for me, no, I think the nose is important. I think palate is more important. I think I will get crushed in the next round, no matter what it's put up against.
Yeah.
So I think K has a better shot of advancing. So that's why I'd vote K.
I think this is I don't know if I should say the weakest round, possibly the weakest round, probably the most disappointing I've had after the nose round, though.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because we've now tried 12 whiskeys in a matter of 45 minutes or so. I think the watery thinness of L is kind of turning me off to it. I just don't like the mouthfeel of it that much.
Yeah, it's disappointingly thin, in my opinion. But
yeah, I'm gonna go K.
Dan just waits to vote last so that he can't be wrong in the voting.
yes, there it is.
If Jake would have been looking at the spreadsheet, he would have saw that I locked in my vote a while ago.
I have the spreadsheet up. I'm not looking at this particular matchup right now.
I had locked it in after he voted his, so
okay.
We can.
I'll trust you.
We
I
can
guess.
time that up with edits. But I don't know. I'm not overly pleased with that round.
Yeah. I think Jake, like Jake said, probably the most disappointing round so far. But
yeah,
there
were good matchups for each other, but yes, disappointing overall.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we got some.
I'd be surprised if either one of those.
I think the silver lining here is that they actually were a pretty close matchup. Because either of these paired up against anything else so far would have gotten absolutely crushed. So,
yeah, it would have been interesting if L would have moved on, because then we would have had I versus L, which were both of the mapley nose ones that we had. But
yeah.
Yep. Sorry, I just sneezed there.
All right. So what? K moves on, right?
We have I and K moving on. So I was the maple leaf banana clove one we had in the first round. And K versus L, we went with K. Both were 2-1 votes. No clean sweeps in that round.
Dan picking correctly again.
Both times. Just so we know that I picked I before. I did not pick I last time, and I won that one too. So your theory is just losing a lot of water really quick. Maybe you should just admit that I'm the best one on the podcast. That's all that needs to be said, and we can move on from this.
I don't know. Let me check the spreadsheet.
Me and Jake are going to conspire to be correct for the rest of this tournament.
Yeah, I love how this is now turning into collusion to win a bracket that has absolutely no reason to have any bragging rights of any type of whatsoever.
No.
And we're now going to start colluding just so I don't win, even though I'm going to win.
You're the one that's talking shit. You started it.
To be fair, I always talk shit. This is nothing new. Let's not act like that's groundbreaking
True.
new.
All right.
All right. On to the final.
I think we got some Texas whiskey here.
Do we? Yeah, look at that shit. I don't know if this is translated on camera as well.
No, it's not. But
yeah,
we've got a black bourbon here.
What we have a Coca-Cola for? Yeah, this is Coca-Cola on N. I mean, there you go. If you're looking at the video, that's about as dark as a whiskey's going to get.
I'm just going to throw this out there right off the bat. Roberto picked 4 from your collection, Jake.
Yeah.
I am betting that he picked Elijah 18.
I bet you that was one of the ones that was lackluster. I bet you that could have been L.
I don't think we've had anything. The only dark one we've had moved on, I believe.
Yeah, E was dark. Yeah, E was the only one that was significantly dark so far. So yeah, I'm interested to see how N fares here. Ooh, yeah, I mean, between M is the lighter. I think the noses follow the color quite a bit. M is a little bit light and a little fruity, a little bit of citrus. N is dark and mysterious.
I'm putting that in as part of your notes.
It's very, very dark and mysterious, and for sure reminds me of like a Texas whiskey. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just like tastes like
You
it's
said that like
hyper-aged.
there's something wrong with it.
No,
The way you said there's nothing wrong with that made me made me feel like you really think there's something wrong with it.
no, it tastes
Possibly.
it tastes like it's young, even though it doesn't have youthful notes. If that makes sense. And I think that's where a lot of the color
Sure.
comes from, because a lot of the color in whiskey comes from the first 6 months to a year of being in the barrel, and if it's only in the barrel for 3-4 years, it's going to pick up a lot of color from that char
Yeah,
and that heat.
especially as all Texas is
Although
level
Roberto
4,
probably would
right?
have picked it.
Hmm?
What?
I think Texas uses level 4 char for the most part.
Well, it depends on the distillery, but
Oh, okay.
Roberto also would have been one to pick a Texas distillery.
Well, yeah. M though, I'll say, is pretty good. It's interesting. I'm
We
about to
should have
try
done lettering
N.
better because M and N are too close together.
yeah, I think they're both pretty good.
My wife loves it. She goes to find every week. You know what you mean?
Okay.
Yeah,
Now I see what you're saying about N, Jake. It's definitely it's got the heavy char kind of flavors. But yeah, it tastes like brighter at the same time, which is typical of younger whiskey. This is an interesting matchup, actually.
It is. Yeah, I think if K and L, if they were swapped in with these, it would be a no-brainer, easy decision to move on M and N. But now that these are matched up against each other, it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, I will
M
say
definitely has the Kentucky bourbon notes.
the nose on M is fantastic.
She has had a much surgeries.
Between these two, like N has a little bit of that like Coca-Cola kind of nose, but M is like very bright and
Jake, give me
somebody
some,
else is gonna have to
some
note
line
that.
graphs. Give me some line graphs of what you think these are like, because I'm trying to decide, and I think I kind of got an idea, but I want to see if you match it up. I want to know what
Okay.
line graph /
Like-
bell curve form. It's like if the how high up on the y-axis or how high up on the y does this go on M? Like and 10 is the very top of bell curve for y.
Yeah,
And
if-
N
if,
goes way up and then kind of levels out.
yeah, like if Y is amount of like robustness in the nose, M is actually pretty high. Like there's a big punch up front on M, and it tapers off pretty quick. N I think is also
right.
fairly robust. I think it doesn't quite meet the punch that M has though.
I could see N being a Whiskey Acres.
M.
N being a whiskey acres.
N. I know we've been saying
N is in
Texas
November.
the whole time. Yeah, but I could see it being some kind of one-off.
Well, it shouldn't be some type of one-off because those were
Well-
illegal to have in here.
I guess it can't be.
Yeah,
Unless
be
you put
the
our
only
toasted-
one with access to that.
Unless
too.
you put our toasted acres or toasted barrel pick in here.
Yeah, this isn't that though.
We can't. No barrel picks.
I know, but we wouldn't have anything one off. Like I don't.
I mean,
the
could it
darkest,
be
the
the
closest we'd have to
7-year?
this
No,
dark
it's too
was
dark.
your toasted barrel pick that we've released. Like I don't even think our 7 years this dark.
Yeah. I think M might be a craft distillery, or at least not a big 6. It's very.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. It's definitely not a big 6. I don't want to say it in like a negative way, but it does taste like there could be some craftiness, and I don't know. Like it kind of it reminds me of the wheat and the darker flavors that I get from Whiskey Acres bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, it's M has some
The nose
nice
is
complexity.
spot on.
Yeah. Like what I like about M is it's complex without being so complex that you just get lost. There's like some good, solid notes to it. N is interesting because it's so oak and char heavy. Yeah, this one's actually pretty tough.
I would say if I was doing a line graph of these two, that N as in November would have a very high peak, but a very quick fall, where I think M as in Mike just kind of plateaus and stays at a plateau for a while.
For finish, you mean?
Palate.
Well, for palate.
Yeah, I think it lingers. I think I like the nose on M as in Mike better. The finish on N as in November is phenomenal. This is tough. They're very different.
This is
Yeah,
very tough.
Very,
yeah.
very different.
Yeah, I just rode the finish on N for quite a while. Going over to M, as in Mike. Yeah, I think I agree with Dan. The palate's very strong. But yeah, the finish is not in the same ballpark as N. N's finish is just very strong and very, very heavy. In like the one of the best possible ways.
I am going to go with M as in Mike. The other one has a lot of flavor to it and a very high flavor spike.
Yeah.
But M on the palate just kind of lingers on the palate with a lot of really good, simple flavors from a bourbon. That's what I'm going to go with. The other concerning thing I'm having is I think we've only said for sure one rye in here, and I'm guessing there's more than one rye, and we only have 2 left after this. We've definitely more than likely missed a rye, but maybe not. But I am voting for M as in Mike, so you guys can easily collude against me here and both go for N as in November to knock me off my high horse. So I'll let you guys decide.
So this is the first round where I'm actually going to go ahead and pour myself a little bit more of each, because I still
Yeah,
don't
I've
know. I
actually
think this
been
is one that I've been
both of
going
these
back and forth on multiple times.
While you guys are still sitting there and,
Well,
and going
I'll
back and
create
forth.
drama.
All right, so yep.
I'm gonna go with N. I think the nose on M, as in Mike, is very strong. I think both of these have very strong palates. I'm gonna edge out N just because I'm an absolute whore for oak notes. So I'm really digging what N, as in November, has. And then the finish on N as well is just like unreal. So I gotta give it out to N.
Jake, do you need some more time? Because I got some
No.
more if you need some more time.
No, I really hate to do this, but I'm also going to join Jake and go on team N. You guys
So
know I
N
like
as
more.
in November wins a 2-1.
Yes, I like more full-bodied whiskeys. I think this has a lot more oak. I still think this could be a Whiskey Acres, although I have no clue what it would be, and I'm probably wrong because I think it's more of a one-off type of flavor for Whiskey Acres, but it stands out a
It
little
doesn't
bit
have our
more.
typical nose.
It stands out a little bit more than M, which I think is, again, a really, really good whiskey, but there's just something about N that stands out, differentiates
What I'm picking
itself.
up out of this is Gold Eagle Jake put a Whiskey Acres pick in, or put a Whiskey Acres thing in here, because he's pretty hard up on that. He's trying to find it out. There's only a few whiskeys left, and he hasn't figured it out.
I did
yet.
not enter Whiskey Acres,
Okay.
and there's
You
been
did
a
in
few.
your blind though, right?
I did in mine, and it won. It moved on
Yeah.
to round 2 against a more
Not
expensive bottle.
Hashtag not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
He's a damn good barrel.
But yeah, no,
We'll let you
here
guys take.
this is there's been a few.
By the
So-
way,
I was gonna say there's been a few so far that
Go
I
ahead.
thought were my entries, and I didn't want to guess because I didn't want to ruin it for you guys if I was right. But I did not put a Whiskey Acres. I definitely don't think either of these were my entries.
Mm-hmm.
all right. By the way, since we've done your barrel pick, we might eventually in the future have a Toasted Oak release sometime. We're now
Ooh,
Who's copying
like
who now?
an
right?
actual full scale release.
And people gotta get the original one.
I know.
Yeah,
Before it's
It's
gone.
almost
moving
it's
quick.
almost gone. I'm surprised it's still here, but it's almost gone.
The limit is off on that, right?
The limit is off. Yeah, I mean after like the first couple days, the limit's off.
After it wins your blind bracket, it'll be gone. Don't worry.
It's gonna be tough to win that bracket, but
God, I just dumped my N as November into my dump cup that has my remnants and my water wash in there.
Yeah.
And it just turned the dump cup like 3 shades darker red.
Yeah.
Or darker brown. All right, so that's my first technical defeat of the tournament.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go undefeated, unfortunately. We were all waiting on pins and needles to
Yeah,
figure that
because
one
everyone's
out.
tracking that stat for you. Like anybody gives
I'm
a
still
shit.
leading. Just want to say that. On to the final round and final tasting. We have O versus P. The shout out, as you guys are kind of getting some of your first notes, I wanted to give a shout out and say this is very fun to do if you have some guys that you like to drink whiskey with. It's a great thing to have done. However, you do need someone as awesome as Jenna Ray, who put all of our bottles together, which that's 16 empty bottles that she had to fill and label times 3.
Yeah.
So thank you for Jenna Ray
Thank
for
you,
taking
Jenna.
the time to do that for us and keeping
Yeah.
everything blind and organized.
Yep. Thanks,
That's one of
Jenna.
the biggest things. It's fun and easy to do blinds, but you need to have someone that can put everything together so you don't know what it is, and just find someone awesome like Jenna Ray.
Yep.
Jenna Ray will not do yours for you. I just want to put that out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Find someone like Jenna Ray.
all right, I'll be back in 30 seconds.
So
I'm
on to
gonna
the final-
hit the restroom.
Yes,
Was that?
he's going to the bathroom.
Oh, all right.
So I just smelled both of these. These are pretty close on the nose, at least from what I'm getting right now. Like
They
both
both have that creamy note to them. I think P has a little bit.
I'd say P
Of
has
a-
maybe a tad more like fullness on the nose.
I'm getting a little bit more rye on P than I am on O. I'm getting a little bit of that peppery spice on P.
Yeah, I
With
can see
Jake
that.
taking a P right now, is that him voting for P? Should I just put him
Yeah.
in? Since he. Okay. All right. Jake,
but this
selected
is
P.
also I mean, without tasting these yet, on the nose, these are very close. Both, I think, easily bourbons, and probably, I mean, colors are almost identical as well. So probably a fairly even matchup. So yeah, I'm excited to get to the actual palate on these.
And O doesn't have the palate that I thought it would.
Yeah, it's it's not flat, but It's a tad. It's not. I
Get a
wouldn't
little
call
bit of
it.
that dusty corn on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it one dimensional. It's it's solid.
There's not a lot of complexity to it. It
Right.
doesn't have your high peak on your line graph.
Yeah.
Your bell curve.
Right.
Nothing like. It's been funny because we've had some that have been very interesting, and we had some that are just normal straight bourbons.
Yeah.
I thought from the nose I might have an idea what this would be, but the palate doesn't remind me what I thought it would be.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, I think P is.
By the way, Jake, since you took a pee, will you put your vote down for P?
Yeah, I heard you. I had my headphones in during my pee. I just muted my
right.
mic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, give a smell on both these and give your notes.
I like the nose on P a lot. I mean, the noses.
What do you like on P better
This
than
reminds me of K and L with the noses. They both have really good noses. P to me has a little bit more of a sweetness, a little more maple syrupy. Is a little
me
more
and Dan both
traditional
thought
Kentucky,
P was maybe
banana.
a little bit spicier.
Yeah, I mean,
I got a little spice on P.
there's more going on with P on the nose for sure, but they're both really good noses. Like the second best round, I think, on the nose.
Yeah, I got a lot of vanilla on. Some vanilla on hers.
I get some vanilla. The palate on O is very good.
Yeah,
I got a little bit of dusty corn on it.
Definitely dusty, vanilla, sweet, a little bit of oak, not overpowering.
Yeah, not much oak.
I would call a very nicely balanced bourbon. It hits all the key notes in fairly equal measure, and overall, I think is very, very solid. P though, I'll give you guys a chance, but P is a little bit.
P's a little more complex,
in my opinion. Yeah.
This actually reminds me of back where we started with A and B. I think O is kind of like A. It's
a lot
more
spice.
Yeah, but I think O reminds me of A. It's a little more Kentucky, well-rounded, great balance. A little bit of those sweeter notes, very light oak, and P is a little more spice, a little more offensive, but a little more fuller-bodied.
Like the oak note is heavier on P as well.
Yeah.
Ready to vote?
Go ahead, Jake.
I'm gonna go P. Between these two, I think is very good. I think P hits. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the oak note. P just hits that a little bit harder, with a little bit more complexity. So, yeah, I'm leaning P.
I will go with O. I liked them both. I did like the complexity of P, but it almost had a little more harsh notes than I liked, where I thought O was a little bit smoother, well-rounded and it just sat a little bit nicer with me. So I will go O.
Yeah,
I'm
O is definitely
Team P
smoother.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
Yeah, yeah. Again, still reminds me of A and B. I think O is a very good, well-rounded bourbon, and has great flavor. But I think P just has a little more going on for me, so I'm gonna gravitate towards P.
Yeah. For me, it's 7.
But wouldn't be upset with either one.
So that is.
I'd be happy to have a pour of O or P.
I think for the most part, except for what was it? The one round of K and L. Yeah, K and L was kind of a disappointing round. I don't think I think that most of these I'd be happy if anyone gave me a pour. None of them I'd be upset with. But overall, I think we had some really good, even submissions.
Yeah, I mean, even K and L though, like I wouldn't be mad about either of those. I think that's just the hard knocks of a blind tasting is you're up against all these random things and
And this was a random draw for positioning too. Like we didn't,
there's
nothing was
no
matched up.
Right.
there's no
There's no
rhyme
rhyme
or
or reason
reason
why things
to
are matched.
anything. Yeah. Though I will
right.
say these matchups have been really good.
Yeah.
Like pretty
It's
phenomenal
interesting when
so
you put
far.
complete opposite things against each other and trying to pick between the two. Like I feel it's easier. Jake, I think like in your blinds, like you do a really good job of matching up things that are very similar.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to put it
which is really good to do in a blind.
Yeah, I'm not going to put a
But
90
it's
proof
funny
or
to
a
try
bottle
and-
Nabon up against a barrel proof like heavy oak bomb. So I do match
Right.
them up. But like, and I was talking about this in the night one of our blind tournament that we did at the store, and that was very, very hard to line up a bracket of our barrel picks because they are so different. So I think people that come to our barrel pick Dramness for the rest of the tournament are going to find that out, that a lot of these matchups are going to be very different, and it's going to come down to more of a personal preference than it is, what do I like better in this whiskey when they're a lot closer matchly placed together. So,
Well, I think the
All right,
next
so-
round is going to really hammer that point home, where the matchups in the top 8 are going to be very much driven by, I think, our personal preferences. So that'll be an interesting round.
Yeah. As a recap for people keeping a scorecard at home, next episode we will have round 2, which will be down from 16 down to 8. So we only got to drink 8 whiskeys next week, which will be nicer for the liver. It's 12:30 on a Saturday. A good thing I have nothing to do because I'm going to be pretty worthless here this afternoon. In the upper left bracket, we have A versus D. The lower left bracket, we will have E versus H. Upper right is I versus K. And lower right is N is in November versus P. We will narrow the 8 down to 4 after the next episode. And the final 4 we will do live, and we'll do the reveal and reaction at the same time, or at the end. Other than that, anything else for this episode, boys, besides plugs?
I'm just eating
Both you guys
wheat
are-
thins right
I
now.
say you muted because you were eating.
yeah, I was also eating,
Jake,
and I also had my mic on mute
You guys
because the
need some
bar's getting
Casey's
a little
breakfast
rowdy
pizza.
right now.
okay.
Saturday morning, 12:30. Gold Eagle Bar is getting a little loud, so
It's afternoon now. It's legal to say afternoon.
had to
Yeah.
mute my mic. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. I'm eager to learn what was in all of these, and I think the next round is going to be very interesting because we're going to have a little bit of different matchups, but all good pours. So I'm impressed with everyone's submissions. There wasn't anything in here that was, easy loss or an easy pass. Like I'd have a pour any of these anytime. So
Yeah.
Speaking of pours, Jake, this episode comes out on Sunday the 17th. Is Monday the 18th the second round of Barrel Pick Dramness?
it is, and we still have, I think, about 8 spots left. So if you're listening to this and want to sign up, go to goldeaglewine.com/events and grab your ticket to that. You won't want to miss it. We've got a few good pours and maybe a few surprises in the lineup for Monday night. But yeah.
Ooh. That means
I mean,
I'm guessing
there's-
that the Weller Full Proof that you did as a store pick is going to be in there.
It very well might be in the bracket, but I don't know what we're pouring Monday night yet. But
Just want to
for
say
each-
that Whiskey Acres Toasted Barrel lost to Weller Full Proof by 1 vote
yeah.
in the last blind. My little Whiskey Acres plug in.
but Whiskey Acres Toasted also beat Nulu Toasted, which is quite a bit more expensive than the Whiskey Acres.
What, $30 more expensive?
Yeah.
for the
That'll
Nulu?
be moving on to the next round, and I think that one might be able to do a little damage in the bracket.
I think so too.
Yeah, that's a absolutely phenomenal pour.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not
Jake,
just saying
what
that because I helped pick it.
You act like you care what you would have said.
I think most of our listeners
Some people
know by
do,
now
Dan.
that's a pretty good pour, but
Everyone that I talk to at the bar says Dan is a piece of shit, and I never listen to what he has to say.
Everyone in my life says that Dan is a piece of shit, so you're not telling me anything I haven't heard before. Jake, if people want to listen to us, watch us, where can they go to follow along with Barrel Pick Dramness? If they want to see listen to the first one,
Yeah, if you want to listen to the first one, you can listen to our previous episode where me and Dan recap our first round or tournament of March Dramness from 2 years ago. You can listen to that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Prime, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can, I don't know if you can't watch that one on YouTube, so you got to find it on a podcast.
Yeah, I think
platform.
it was episode 10 through 12. So I don't think we're doing video quite then.
It's a pretty early one. So yeah, go find that on Spotify.
Wait, maybe we were by then.
No,
we were doing it upstairs in
not.
your office. No, we weren't. Never mind.
So if you want to watch that recap episode, you can watch it on YouTube or Spotify from last week. Me and Dan break down everything from that last round and give our like shitty tasting notes. It was kind of fun to reminisce a little bit about that.
We've come a little bit in 2 years.
We've come a long way since then, I would say. So yeah, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, share with your friends, all that fun stuff. Yeah, we'll see you next week with the top 8 because I can't say the other E word, I don't think. So
I think you can. I don't think they have a trademark on that. I think it's just the March craziness that they have a trademark on.
Okay.
But regardless, to be safe, we will not call it that.
Yeah.
yeah, I had to remake
Not
our
that
logo
monetized
like 10
anyway,
times for our Barrel Pick Dramness. Our lawyer, aka my mom, made me redo it like 10 times. So can't be too cautious here.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well, it's 12:30 on a Saturday, and I've drank 16 whiskeys. So
Yep.
I'm going to say cheers on that note.
Cheers.
Cheers. Happy St. Patty's.
All right, next week. Let's do it. Bye.